Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Tuesday. This is Seattle Now. The rising cost of property taxes is putting pressure on homeowners, especially in historically black neighborhoods like the Central District. Now, a local research project is highlighting how it contributes to gentrification and displacement of black homeowners. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but first, let's get you caught up. Seattle has already banned ICE agents from staging operations on city property. Now, King County is poised to vote today on a similar measure. It would apply to civil immigration operations on property that's owned or controlled by King County. King County Executive Gurmai Zalhalai issued an executive order last month to do so. Today's vote would codify his order into law. The meeting begins at 1:30. Just as the NBA Board of Governors is poised to vote on expansion to Seattle, the group that owns the Seattle Kraken has now become the majority owner of Climate Pledge Arena. According to the Seattle Times, the deal's been in the works for months. If the NBA does return to Seattle, the team's owners would have to negotiate with the Kraken in order to use Climate Pledge Arena. And hey, twice a day each day, you rely on Seattle Now to catch you up. This show is powered by an entire newsroom of people following local stories across the city. KUOW relies on community support for this podcast and everything you read or hear. It is all supported in part by you. This week is KUOW's Spring Fundraising Drive. Please consider supporting KUOW and this podcast by making a financial gift. All you have to do is tap the link in our show notes. And thank you for supporting Seattle Now. We're back with more headlines on tonight's episode. Homeowners in King County got an unwelcome surprise this year. Their property tax bills were a lot bigger than expected. It's complicated, but it's partly due to the lag time between when homes are assessed and the current housing market. In Seattle and King County, property tax revenue pays for parks, emergency services, libraries, even democracy vouchers. More than half of those taxes come from voter-approved levies. In the Central District, a home assessed at around $430,000 will cost the owner $4,600. Some homeowners in the CD are able to absorb the cost of increasing property taxes, but for others with lower incomes or seniors on a fixed income, it can be a significant burden or even lead to displacement. This is a decades-old story in the Central District where black homeowners were once the majority. Wari's CACE 21 project advocates for the dwindling number of black homeowners in the CD. For the past few years, they've been surveying black homeowners about how they're navigating a gentrifying neighborhood. This year, they're releasing the findings. The organization conducted hour-long interviews with more than 50 homeowners.
One homeowner said that it was a relief to take this survey.
Wow.
As a researcher, do you know how that feels?
Dr. Kristin McCowan is the lead researcher for the project. She's here now to talk about what she's learned. Kristin, thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, we can dig into that report in just a second, but before we do, homeowners across King County saw higher tax bills. So let's talk about what's different about this story for black homeowners, particularly in the CD.
Yeah, so one of the major differences is history, really, the history of redlining and different sort of housing policies and practices that disenfranchise black folks, especially in the Central District. And so not only do they have to sort of contend with unfair, discriminatory housing practices, they're now being overburdened with increasing property taxes.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the numbers. What did the survey find?
Among all of the folks that we've surveyed, we've found that about 75% of them have lived in their home for more than 20 years. And so these are folks that have been in place for a long, long time. We asked them what their major challenges to affordability were, and property tax was the number one. 86% of survey respondents said that property taxes was a huge barrier to affordability. And then 70% said maintenance costs, so second runner-up. And then renovation and upgrades was also another major challenge.
Okay. You must have heard some stories behind those numbers. Share a few if you can.
One homeowner in particular about property taxes, they noted that property taxes are the biggest expense that they have and that they would have to sell their house to be able to not lose the investment sort of potential. And they said that it would be the most difficult thing that they had to do since they lost both of their parents. And to me, that sense of like grief that comes with having to lose your home is just striking.
Yeah. There's an emotional connection to your home. There's also a legacy.
Yeah, a legacy that, a lot of folks want to hang on to for generations, and that's becoming increasingly more difficult for Black homeowners.
I'm thinking about the socioeconomic status of somebody whose biggest expense is property taxes, and even that is challenging. So we are talking about people who are living on a very fixed budget.
Absolutely. And many of them, are seniors. There are some sort of tax exemptions that come for senior populations, but a lot of folks don't qualify because that area median income is set at about $84,000. And so a lot of folks may make more than that and may not qualify.
Seniors who make under $84,000 can get up to a 50% reduction on property taxes, but there is a complicated soup that goes around what makes a property value increase or not. What are some of the things going on in the CD that have affected property values?
I'll share what one homeowner said. Quote, because part of the tax rate is based on these new developments they're building. Like that thing across the street that I mentioned earlier, sold for $2 million. And so that negatively impacts taxes. And so in addition to the new real estate developments sort of driving up property taxes, some homeowners consider this sort of rapidly increasing taxes as a coercive strategy to drive homeowners out of the neighborhood. And so there is a soup. There's like the levies, right? City-based levies. There's new developments that are happening. And then that's increasing the value of homes in the area. And then in turn, increasing the property taxes for the homeowner. There's also a bunch of things around upzoning that's happening in the Central District where your land is assessed at the highest and best use, right? And so if you can potentially be getting a $2 million worth of use out of your land, but you're only, having one structure, then you can still be assessed at that rate. And so that also drives up taxes.
And I should mention that there is a mechanism in place for homeowners to ask for a reassessment of their homes, but that has to be done 60 days in advance of your bill arriving, and that window closes pretty quickly for a lot of people.
Exactly.
Is there anything else happening in the CD that's making it difficult for the homeowners you surveyed?
Part of it is that folks are being pressured to sell their home. That was also another finding. About 50% of the folks we surveyed said they do feel pressured to sell their home, and they get solicitations all the time.
So they feel financial pressure to sell their home and also solicitation pressure.
Yes. And we have called this ambient pressure. Some homeowners say, yeah, they call me all the time. They're calling my grandkids and they're doing X, Y, and Z, but I'm not moving. And so the pressure's there, but they're staying put.
What are they doing to hold on to their homes in the face of these challenges that you're talking about here?
A lot of folks are really trying to find answers on how to do that at the moment. There are some opportunities to rent a room out in your home or to sort of develop on your own land, an ADU or things like that. For many homeowners, the capital that's required to do such a project, is challenging.
You touched on this briefly a little bit before, but let's talk a bit more about city or county supports that might be in place to try to help.
There are some tax exemptions for particular populations, and if you meet a certain income level, there's a ton of resources, I actually think. I mean, there's some stuff where you can sort of renovate your home or, get a new roof from Habitat or things like that can offset the costs of some maintenance things. But that doesn't seem to, at least in the conversations that we've had with homeowners, that doesn't seem to be effective enough. And so many folks are advocating for different ways to address the increasing property tax. One homeowner suggests that we figure out a way to have a cap on property taxes, especially for legacy homeowners. And they cited how this is happening in Nevada. And it could be possible if there's political will in Seattle or in King County to have that happen.
Are seniors actually moving? What have you heard from homeowners who have decided, all right, I've just got to go?
The data are clear that the Black population in the CD has been decreasing rapidly since the 70s. And so right now, I'd say the Black population in the Central District is about 14 or 15% of the most recent data that we have available. And so folks are moving, and they are moving farther south, which is also why we had to kind of expand the catchment area of our survey. So it began as a project for the Central District, but we now talk to homeowners in the Central District and South Seattle. And so folks are moving.
You know, I have to ask if property values going up are all bad. Did you hear anything about benefits?
Not from the homeowners that we've talked to.
Okay. All right. You know, I know you have plans to report out the study's findings, but how else might this data be useful?
I think this data is incredibly useful, one, to understand the contours of how Black homeowners make sense of what's happening around displacement. And one of the things that I'll read is a quote from one of the homeowners, and they say, so my wages are going up, but then the taxes on my wages are going up. And then every time you turn around, they have some levy that's attached to your house. And I think that's another way they steal our property, is putting all the tax burden on homeowners. And what this homeowner makes clear is that it feels like theft. It feels like a coercive way to displace Black homeowners from the Central District. And so to your question around, like, are there good things about, the new developments or increasing value? For them, losing their home doesn't feel like a good thing, or the potential to lose their home. Yeah.
Dr. Kristin McCowan is the lead researcher for Wari's Central Area Cultural Ecosystem for the 21st Century Project. Really appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you listening to Seattle Now, and thanks to our donors for making this show possible. Doesn't cost a penny to rate and review us on your favorite podcast app. Today's episode was produced by Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers. It was edited by Andy Hurst. Our production team also includes Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Vaughn Jones, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you tonight for Evening Headlines.